Oceans, the birthplace of life. Oceans have a great impact on the human population. Let us see how. It is commonly believed that life on our planet Earth began approximately 4 billion years ago. Almost all researchers agree that life began in the oceans. The journey of life from the oceans to the land took almost 3.5 billion years, and approximately 500 million years ago, life appeared on land. So, no matter how unimaginably long it was since the first creatures crawled out onto the land, to the age of the dinosaurs, to our time, all of that is but a small span of time compared to the vast time during which the oceans have nurtured life. The history of life on land is only a fraction of the history of life in the ocean, and even today, the ocean remains critical for existence of life on planet Earth. The oceans are a major source of food. Worldwide, around half of the population live in coastal zones, and about 1 billion people depend on fish as their main source of protein. Apart from harvesting the food from the sea, many industrial processes across the world depend on the marine environment for resources such as oil, gas, and marine products. The oceans offer vast potential for renewable energy technologies such as wind farms, tidal or wave energy devices. Coastal and marine tourism is a large global industry supporting regional economies as coastal and marine environments become more accessible. Ecotourism is a fast-growing sector. International sea trade depends on regular and safe routes for freight and passengers. World sea trade is huge. Nearly half of the world's population lives and works within 100 kilometers of the sea, and 100 million people live less than 1 meter above the present sea level. Even today, the majority of life on Earth exists here in the oceans. This should not come as a shock because more than 2/3 of the Earth's surface is covered by water. The Earth's water cycle is dependent on the oceans. This means that rain for growing food and water for drinking directly or indirectly comes from the oceans. A very high proportion of oxygen, animals and human beings cannot survive without oxygen, is produced in the oceans and the seas. Oceans have contributed significantly to recent medical and scientific research. Ocean-based transportation is the backbone of commerce in the world. More than 90% of the international commerce is ocean-dependent. Oceans provide jobs to millions of individuals. In America alone, 1 out of every 6 jobs is marine-related. Most of the sunlight falling on Earth falls on oceans, and oceans are very good at absorbing it. Oceans are so deep, average depth about 13,000 feet, with a maximum depth of 36,198 feet, that the sunlight does not even reach the ocean floor in most places. There are rivers flowing underneath oceans called currents. These currents help in distributing the heat that sunlight produces. They take the heat from one place to another. These currents are responsible for the weather patterns on the Earth. These currents are so important that if the North Atlantic current stopped, then all of England and Northern Europe will begin to enter into an ice age. Research has shown continental waters to be best suited as home of most of the ocean life forms. This means that most of the oceanic life forms live in the shallower water surrounding oceans rather than in the deeper waters of the open ocean. Recently, a study of a small section in the deep ocean found 898, 449 undiscovered life forms living in it. Just imagine the number and variety of life forms that exist on Earth. What's more, given the variety of life that exists in the ocean's different depth and temperature zones and oceanic regions, we can only imagine what remains to be discovered out there in the deep parts of the ocean. Life in the ocean does not exist in isolation. Oceans exist next to lands. This means that oceans are affected by pollution on land. Human pollution includes drainage of human waste, industrial waste, pesticides, insecticides, artificial fertilizers, and oil spills from ships. This affects the homes of oceanic creatures. Their food supply is threatened. That in turn affects our fishing and allied industries.